For the last 6 years, I have managed 170 acres of land in northwest Herefordshire called the Mowley Valley. I'm lucky to be part of a great team of 4 people, and we have all been working on this together from the beginning. The valley has steep sides carved out by the meltwaters of the last ice age, and these are covered in 100 acres of ancient woodland. There is a wide, flat floodplain with the River Arrow meandering through it. The aims have been to restore and create a mosaic of habitats throughout the valley to increase biodiversity and to slow the flow and improve the quality of the water going into the river. The land is privately owned, and all the work that we are doing has to be funded by income we make in the valley. We get that income from hay and from grazing, some fishing income, occasional timber, and from grants for the species-rich meadows, the woodland, and for the habitat creation we are doing. Historically, the Arrow was very much a working river with mills, forges, and tanneries. They needed water, and there are lots of weirs and leat systems with 2 weirs in the valley. They do affect the natural movement and morphology of the river, but in between them, the river in Mowley is moving, creating banks of gravel in places and undercutting in others. Where trees fall into the river, we often leave them as they slow the flow and create important habitat. Trees are vitally important to the strength of the riverbanks, and when the water level drops, you can see the root architecture holding the banks up. Regular coppicing of riverside trees helps to keep these trees and their root systems in place. Trees also provide important shade to keep the water cool, something we can really appreciate after the 6 months of heat earlier this year. We do have white-clawed crayfish in the Arrow, but maybe because of that heat, there were many found dead this last summer. There are 7 otters in the valley, eel, salmon, as well as kingfishers, dippers, to name a few. Each year we collect rubbish that comes downstream. The largest component of the rubbish is silage wrap. We also spend many hours pulling Himalayan balsam. The floods bring more seed downstream. However, we do think it is worth all the work because balsam is such a successful dominant plant that it shades out our perennial native vegetation. Balsam is an annual, dies in the autumn, and then leaves large stretches of the riverbanks bare over winter, exactly when they need that protection from roots and vegetation. As a result of repeated clearing of balsam, we have noticed a big increase in our native species, making the banks more resilient. The floods last week remind us of what we already know, that we are getting more floods and at a higher level. When the hay is cut, we leave wide, uncut buffer zones all along the riverbanks. These rougher edges develop tussocky, tough grasses that slow the flow of the water when it comes up onto the floodplain. As the river slows, it deposits wood and silt. These rough edges that are also along the woodland edge are grazed by the sheep in winter, which helps to maintain their plant diversity. Watching how the floods move across the land means we now leave the ground within the meanders to rough and scrub up as well, because the friction again slows the flow of water. When we started, the valley had been overgrazed for some years. we have restored and created 50 acres of meadows all along the 1.5 miles of river, and they are now designated priority habitat. In places we have found 26 species per square metre. There has been a huge increase in pollinators and other invertebrates, and consequently the bird life, etc., that this attracts. The dense and diverse root systems from the diversity of plants in the meadows increases the soil health, improving water infiltration and quality. We make beautiful hay and sell it to a dairy farm 2 miles away. When the hay is cut, we leave an uncut mohican of meadow, which is a good refuge and allows later flowering plants to flower and seed. We move that mohican so that we don't start getting tussocky grass in the meadow. Easy Care sheep from Brillicourt Farm then graze the aftermath grass, which grows back after the hay cut. We have 130 ewe lambs at the moment in the valley. They are an excellent breed for this project, as they shed their wool and therefore do not get stuck in the tumps of bramble in our rough edges, and mostly don't throw themselves in the river. Because of the shape of the valley, we can use electric fences to graze in sections, moving them when they've grazed enough. How to improve water retention and slowing its flow to the river. After a lot of observation and digging test pits, we have made 15 scrapes, small and large, throughout the valley. The ones made last September have had water in them since, absolutely full in the winter, and then even throughout the 6 months of minimal rainfall this year, we had a lot of water. They have been a magnet for wildlife. Dragonflies were ovipositing even while the bulldozer was working, and this spring they were heaving with tadpoles, toad and frog. If sited correctly and made with very gently shelving slopes, they have a huge capacity for storing water, slowing the flow of water into the river and improving water quality and creating important habitat at the same time. You get a lot for your money. As well as making new scrapes, we have also restored old ponds. There is sure to be a corner on most farms in the catchment, always damp or wet, full of rushes, where a scrape or two could be made. Kindly funded by the Environment Agency, we have also planted 10 hectares of trees. We use 30 different native species of trees and shrubs. So many new woodlands are being planted in this country, but often with a very small number of species. This is a missed opportunity to inject diversity from the beginning. We use biodegradable guards that we hope will last. Yellow rattle shown there, normally used to create meadows, and it's in great abundance in the valley. Well, we collected the seed and as an experiment have sown it around the newly planted trees, where it is already suppressing the grass in year 1. People often use herbicide or mulch mats, but yellow rattle is working very well. We use damp woodland species such as willow, native black poplar, birch and alder, where we know the river floods, so that in time these trees and shrubs will also slow the flow. Only 2.5% of our island has ancient woodland, the most complex habitat we have. It is also a carbon store, and because we are controlling the deer, it has a healthy understory, often missing in UK woods. The soil on the steep slopes of the valley are protected and full of fungi and absorb the rainfall. We are monitoring, surveying, kick testing, keeping species lists, river testing as part of the citizen science, and we use trail cams, and all these photos are from the valley. We are amazed by what we are finding. Some species absolutely were in the valley already, but there are others that we know we didn't have at the beginning of the project, and we now have them due to how we are managing and creating habitat. We have more than 300 species of fungi already recorded, including these wax caps. We are regionally important at Mowley for wax caps due to the number of different species in our meadows. Burnet moths on the right. This is a 6 spot, and we now have an established community of them. We have also recorded a narrow-bordered 5 spot and the much rarer 5 spot, which is the first record in Herefordshire for 50 years. Silver-washed fritillaries on the left, they came due to woodland management, opening up sunny glades and sunny rides so they can flower, but they're now throughout the valley in the meadows as well. A beauty that turned up this year in Mowley for the first time is a moth called the large Clifton nonpareil. Nature is restoring itself quickly where it is being given the chance and space to do so. Simple actions can have a huge effect on the river, but only if they are done on multiple farms in the catchment.